Hello and welcome back to another Dodgeball video. In today's video, I've consolidated my top 5 accuracy tips that'll lead you to have better accuracy on your throws on the dodgeball court. And if you enjoyed this video, stay tuned to next week. I'm going to have some drills that you can do on your own to improve your accuracy. And again, this is a topic that was dropped in my comments a couple times, which is why I wanted to make sure I covered it for you guys since it's something you wanted to see. If you have other dodgeball topics you'd like me to cover, definitely drop them in the comments below because I'm always taking a look to see what you guys are looking for. So let's jump right into these tips. Tip number 1, you want to make sure that you have a really nice grip on the ball. You want to have a nice squeeze, nice hand position so you feel nice and comfortable and that ball is fully in your control. The last thing you want is for the ball to slip out of your hand before you're ready, or you have a wonky release because you didn't have a good grip and hand position on the ball. Tip number 2, you want to make sure your throwing mechanics are really good. Again, it's another foundational thing. You want to have a good foundation in your throw in order to have a good accurate throw. So really pay attention to how your ball is going, where it's landing, where you're actually aiming for, and make adjustments to it. If you're a little too high on your throws, you probably need to be releasing a little bit later. If you're dirting before you hit anybody, you're probably releasing too late. Is your ball going too much left or too much right? You probably need to adjust your release point and also your hip placement. So by making adjustments to your actual throwing mechanics as you're throwing, that's going to lead to better accuracy. Tip number 3, you want to perfect hitting a static target. So again, I'll have some drills in next week's video that you can do on your own that'll kind of work on this, but something that I like to do before a game as like a warm-up and before a tournament is I try and hit a target on the wall at least 10 times. So I usually pick like a scuff mark or a dent or just something on the wall that stands out that I can tell if I'm hitting it or not, and I try and hit it 10 times, and not just straight on with a fastball. I try and do it with a sidearm, with backhand, any throw that I know I might be using that day. And then on top of that, I try and move to different angles. You know, sometimes there's not enough gym space to get the angles in, but if there is, I try and do that as well. That way I am honed in on that specific target. So you've gotten really good at hitting that static target. Well, the next step, tip number 4, is to practice and get really good at hitting a moving target. So again, I'll have some drills in next week's video that you can do by yourself to practice hitting a moving target, and eventually I'll do partner drills as well. But for the sake of this video, as an example, when I first started playing, I used to just throw at the vicinity of somebody, and a lot of times that either led to a catch or a wild ball that wasn't where I wanted it to be. So what I did to adjust that is when I now go up to throw at somebody, in my head, I pick a specific area on them that I am aiming for. That has really improved my accuracy. So for example, if I'm throwing with a partner and we're like, okay, we're gonna go for number 3, and I notice that their right foot is hanging out a little too much from their body, I'm like, okay, internally, I'm gonna go for their right ankle. So when I throw at them, even if I hit them, to me, it's not really a check unless I hit their right ankle. And say I do hit their right ankle, awesome, perfect, I had an accurate throw. If I don't, say I hit their left shoulder instead, I'm like, awesome, I hit them, but I missed what I was actually going for, then I can see, okay, I missed a little bit high and a little bit to the left, so I can make an adjustment to my throwing mechanics. Again, tip number 2, work on your throwing mechanics. I can make that adjustment because I can see how much I missed by and try again the next time. So by having a specific point on somebody, it'll allow you to really notice how much you're missing by and to make those adjustments to your throwing mechanics. So tip number 5 is anticipating where your target is going to be. So when you go to release the ball at the target, when you first pull your arm back, where the target isn't necessarily going to be where they are when you finally release the ball. So anticipating where they're going to be is important to hitting those moving targets. So one thing you can do is you can do drills that help you improve your ball tracking and anticipation skills, and I'm going to have a couple of those in next week's accuracy video for drills you can do. Another thing you can do, and this one's a little hard and it definitely will take a lot of practice and experience to get better at it, is looking at how the target is positioned and identifying their hip position, their knee, their feet, to kind of make a educated guess on where they're going to be when you release the ball, whether they're going to stay low behind their blocking ball, whether they're going to jump, whether they're going to go side to side. A lot of times their hip and foot position can kind of give that away early. but again, it's still going to be an educated guess and anticipating where you're hoping they're going to be. So another thing you can do, and this is more so with players that you play with all the time, is pick up on their player tendencies. So every player has certain tendencies they tend to do in various situations, no matter how much they try and hide it. A lot of times when it gets to those hard minutes, those hard moments in the game, they tend to go to the things they know. And so by knowing what their tendencies are, you can anticipate where they're going to be just based on past experience. And now, of course, if you're playing someone you've never played before, is maybe new to the dodgeball scene, then yeah, you're gonna have to start to pick up on those as they come up and play. However, if you're playing somebody that's been around and you just have never played them before yourself, there might be film on them. A lot of people film games now. You can find a ton of them on YouTube. So if you know what team they play for, you can watch the games from their team and pick up on those tendencies. This is more so something you want to do with players that you know are going to cause trouble, or teams that are going to cause you trouble. You don't necessarily want to do this for every single player you play against. That's just a lot of information, unnecessary information you don't need. You want to save the watching the film for the players and teams that are going to give you a lot of trouble. And finally, one thing you can do that will kind of take the anticipation out of the equation is utilize pump faking. And all you need to do is have a really realistic and believable pump fake, and you can get the player you're throwing at to move early, be off balance, so by the time you bring in that second throw, you're going to hit them because they won't be able to move. Then you don't have to anticipate where they're going to be. You can already get them to move and then catch them on the throw when they're off balanced. So those are my top 5 tips to improving your accuracy. Again, those are the top 5 things that I think you really need to nail down to really get good, consistent accuracy. There's a lot of other small things you can do that maybe I'll include in another video, but I would focus on these 5 if accuracy is something you're trying to improve. And again, next week I will have a video for solo drills you can do to hit static and moving targets consistently. Again, not everyone has a partner, so I wanted to start with solo drills. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment with any other dodgeball topics you'd like me to cover, and I'll see you guys next week.